Hi, my name is Jeff Pagano, and welcome to Harping on Rugby. This is the Front Five, part of our weekly 80-plus column where we harp on a selection of eye-catching, egg-chasing quotes and links from around the rugby media landscape. Now, if you have been following our Harping YouTube channel, you'll notice we've just changed the format of this video. Over the summer months, I did the entire 80-plus column this way. But the truth is, it was way too much work doing all the graphics and such. But I do enjoy these vids, so I decided to stick with doing at least the Front Five this way for now, while all the other features, Wrap of a Wrap, Leinster Squad Update, Troll Patrol, and competition updates, among others, can be found in newsletter form at harpingonrugby.blog. So basically what I'm doing here is, now I point knowing where my graphics are going to be, but I haven't decided what way I'm going to lay out this video just yet, so I'm not going to do any of that pointing this week, maybe next week, but somewhere on the screen you'll see 5 topics. I'm just basically going to quickly harp on them. They all come from articles I found around the internet and different stories that are going on in the wider rugby world outside the general Leinster and Ireland men's rugby team that we follow week in, week out here at Harping on Rugby. So let's crack on with this week's article, starting with, okay, I'll just point here, there. We'll see if I can put a graphic at the end of my finger there. You'll see this first article comes from the Rugby paper, and where else would I start but that incredible result for the Irish women's rugby team in Vancouver in the early hours of Monday morning. I'd love to say I got up at 3 o'clock to watch it. I didn't. It was Monday morning, but I was awake. I woke up about 5:30 or something. I had to look at my phone, and I scrolled through the text to the messages, and I saw we were winning, and then we weren't winning. New Zealand scored. I'm like, oh god! And then it's like, oh my god, we won! And I'm like, whoa! It was an amazing way to discover the result. But then when I watched it back, and if you haven't watched it back yet, please do. rugbypass.tv, set up a free account there. It's all free. The full, not just the highlights, watch the full game to get a full appreciation of this incredible victory. And the reason I've chosen this article from the Rugby paper is that it's not just a story that influences Irish rugby. Now, we all know what Irish rugby has gone through in the women's game for the past 10 years. I mean, you go back 10 years ago, and Ireland actually did beat New Zealand. It was in the World Cup. I mean, they did it before the men did. And that was an amazing result. That was an amazing team. But that only goes to highlight even more just how far the women's game has dropped since then. With the low point being, and I always talk about this with the contrast, as I was sitting in the Aviva Stadium watching Leinster's very first game in the very first season of the United Rugby Championship, where we were handily beating the Bulls, a very comfortable game. The match on the pitch was over, but on my laptop up in the media box in the Aviva, I was able to watch the final minutes of Ireland's World Cup qualifier, and they lost to Scotland, and they failed to qualify for that World Cup. They went on to finish bottom of the Six Nations since then. There were problems it wasn't just a test team. There were problems at provincial level, problems at club level, right the way through the women's game. It wasn't being properly organized, resourced. They were allowing England and France programs to just get away, to just advance, and they were just, it was so far behind. They had dropped so far since that last win over New Zealand. But since then, they have turned things around. It hasn't all been perfect. There's still a lot to iron out, but you can't argue with what's going on the pitch. We had a great interprovincial series there a while ago. I wish it had been longer. It was only 4 weeks, but it was still a great series. It was won by Leinster, but it wasn't just about that. It was a great series. We got a good look at all the talent that are available for the women's team. And then they had that great win over Australia up in Belfast a couple of weeks ago. And now, having finished third in the Six Nations this year, earlier in the year, which you could say was the beginning of this resurgence, that qualified them for the top tier of this WXV competition, and that put them up against. Now, they've avoided England with the draw for the competition, but they still had to play world champion New Zealand. They're playing Canada, the host, and they're playing the United States. 3 big matches, 3 top tier matches, and this was the could arguably be the toughest of them all in their very first game. And like I say, if you get a chance, watch it from start to finish. Because it's not just that they won; they were behind several times. There's several points when New Zealand get a try, and you go, "Okay, that's it. We're not coming back from that." But they kept going literally to the last play of the game. And there were some amazing performances right the way throughout the team. We got Erin King coming off the bench to get her second try at the very end. You got Dan O'Brien sticking the conversion like nerves of steel, getting the conversion to earn the victory. But of course, the absolute superstar of this game has to be Aoife Wafer. I mean, she's already impressed for Ireland. She'd always impressed for Leinster. But she had just come back from injury, and I think it was halfway through the Interpros. She was on the bench for Leinster. I think it was against Connacht. She literally came off the bench, first play, first breakdown, boom, penalty, wins a penalty for her team. And she went on to barge over for tries and all that kind of stuff. And she showed she could do it against Australia as well. And she showed she could do it here. From the very first, we conceded a score early on, but we came straight back. And there was this scrum. There was a free kick at the scrum, and she just, she took a tap and barged over the line, and she got past about 20 seemed like Blackfern defenders to get over the line. But that wasn't what got it for me. It was the way she wanted the ball. As soon as she saw there was a free kick, that there was an opportunity to take a tap, she was like, give me the ball. You'll love to see that. She is an outstanding player and an outstanding future for Ireland. And the whole team is playing with this belief all of a sudden that it just, you as a viewer, you as a fan watching it, you buy into it as well. If you please do get a chance to watch that. Like I say, this and this win, it's not just resonating in Ireland. That's why I picked this article from the Rugby paper, because it's got implications as well for the Six Nations, because we had this possibility where the Women's Six Nations was going to be England and France and a race for third place every season from now on. But that's not the case anymore. This Ireland team showed that they're in play now, and they've a lot. They have a lot to play for. So this article, the headline is Ireland make massive strides, women's Six Nations shaping well. And the quote I've chosen, as you can see there, King rumbled over from close range yet again at the end to level 27 all, and O'Brien kept her composure to deliver, winning additional 2 points from the tee. Outstanding performance, okay? And I can't say that enough times. So that's our first article from this week's Front Five. Okay, second article is about another Irish team. It's the Emerging Irish. Now I'm talking to you, it's Wednesday morning. At 3:00 on Wednesday afternoon, the Emerging Ireland team, which has gone to South Africa, is going to play its first game. And they're going to play the Airlink Pumas, Currie Cup team. This is a big opportunity for all these players to go on a tour, to get good training, to train with the Irish setup, to pull on the green jersey. It's just an amazing opportunity for everyone. And this is our first game. It's a 3-game series. It's a very interesting squad, but this first team has got loads of interesting names in it. I mean, Sam Prendergast starting at 10 for one. Leinster fans will be mad for that. And there's a lot of Leinster presence all throughout the team. But it's more, actually, what interests me most about this is on the wing, Zach Ward. Now, Zach Ward, if you'd followed the Irish Sevens all the way to their Olympics, all the way through the Seven Series last season, where the men's Sevens did really well, to the Olympics, where they didn't quite get to the Final Four and have a chance of a medal, but they still put in some great performances over that time. And one of the stars of the team was Zach Ward, at absolutely powerful ball carrier. I mean, it's pretty much every possession involved in gain, breaking the gain line and putting your team on the front foot. I'd be fascinated to see how he does in 15s, and this is the perfect way to do it. In fact, altogether, you've got 3 teams that I've been following. You got the Leinster team, you've got the Sevens team, and then you've got the under 20s that did so well in the under 20s World Championship, and of course, came close to another third Six Nations title in a row this year. Ben O'Connor has been a big part of that team, an amazing talent. He's starting at fullback in their first game. And then, of course, Leinster's Rob Russell. So there's a back three: Zach Ward, Rob Russell, who scores tries for fun, and Ben O'Connor, huge talent coming out of the under-20s. That's a fascinating back three. And we all know, like, no matter what team South Africa produces, you know they're going to have a decent back three. So there's a battle right there. You got Sam Prendergast playing at 10. Lots of talent throughout the team. I'm just fascinated to see how they get along. And of course, Gus McCarthy coming off the bench as well. He's impressed for Leinster in their first couple of games this season. So this article is from IrishRugby.ie, or I call it the mothership website. Easterby names emerging Ireland team to face the Pumas, basically talking about the game. And the quote I've selected talks about the back three I described there. That's a fascinating. When you've watched this, they may have already played. If not, check out. There's a new Irish rugby kind of streaming platform. It's free. Free for now. I don't know. Maybe they have plans to do a subscription in the future. But anyway, listen, for now, it's free. They're going to show AIL games there, but they're also showing the All Ireland League. You do have to register. It's Irish Rugby Plus is the website. You'll find links for it online. So go there and sign up and watch the game. It's live at 3:00, or watch it later on if you can. Do watch the whole thing, because it'd be fascinating to see how this team does. Okay, our third article. This comes from extra.ie, and it's from Adam Lacey. And basically, it's the headline reads: Racing 92 boss Stuart Lancaster moves to lure Ireland star to France. That's a bit clickbaity, because you're going to go, ooh, which Ireland star? You're going to click the thing. Well, I'm going to tell you, it's Jack Conan. And there is talk about Jack Conan. He's been captain of Leinster for the first 2 games of the season, but when you look at how well he performs at number 8, and then you look at Caelan Doris, who's become the captain of Leinster, and you look at all the other back row talent Leinster has. You do wonder, Jack Conan, I mean, he's played for the Lions. He started for the Lions. He's had this amazing career. You do wonder, is he going to start thinking about his future? So it's not really surprising to see his name, and what better man to know him and to tempt him to move would be Stu Lancaster. So it is feasible. They're just after losing Sia Khaleesi Racing, and they haven't really fired on all cylinders since Stu went over there. So he'll be looking to improve his squad. So it is possible. We'll keep an eye on that and see how it goes. And this is the first article I saw about that in extra.ie. So obviously we wouldn't want to see Jack go. We love seeing him playing for Leinster. But on the other hand, you got someone like James Culhan moving through the ranks. There's got, we know there's a lot of back row talent. I mean, my attitude is like whatever suits the player. If the player wants to stay, he stays. But if he thinks it's better for him and his career to move on, we'd wish him all the best. So we'll see what happens, and we'll monitor that as we're going along. Okay, fourth article is from balls.ie, Joshua Bell Curran. This is about the new Johnny Sexton book. Now, if you know, a few years ago, Sexton came out with a book called Becoming a Lion. But this is a full autobiography, and it's literally just been released. And the bit they've teased is perfect. The little story they put out there in the news cycle to sort of get word of the book around, I think they couldn't have picked a better story. It comes at the end of that fateful quarterfinal in France against New Zealand. And the quote is, he says, "I stand there, hands on hips, staring in disbelief at Barnes. Rico Ioane comes up to me and tells me, get back 10 meters. And a lot of people are comparing that to George Gregan saying 4 more years to the All Blacks. Sexton, let's just say he's divided opinion. Let's put it that way. You often see players that this type of rugby player that you would, you'd hate. You hate coming up against, you hate playing them, but when they're on your team, you're not exactly complaining. And Sexton, and that isn't often a 10 either. But Sexton, he's been, has had an incredible career, never got to that World Cup semifinal, of course, but he did literally everything else there is to do in the game. He ticked all the boxes there to be ticked, and he did have an amazing career for Ireland and Leinster. So, there's nothing's going to take that away from him. But what happens when you're that successful, and what happens when you're that grumpy, is a lot of people hate you. And it's been amazing looking at the reactions online to some of the things he said in this book. There's just such hatred out there, and it's not all fans from outside of Ireland as well. There's a lot of fans from within Ireland, obviously outside Leinster, that don't mind having a pop at him, and it's just been humorous looking at the and plus the book is called Obsessed. There's the obsession with people to just they're just looking for reasons to have a go at Sexton. You can just see them buying the book just so they can have a rage read and have a go at them. We picked if you go to our blog, harpinonrugby.blog, where we got our full 80+ column. We do Troll Patrol every week. I've picked one of the tweets I saw online from this litany of reactions to this little story about Rico Ioane. So it's a genius way of promoting the book, and we'll see how that actual book is. I must be sure to have a read of that. So that's our fourth article on the Johnny Sexton book. Okay, fifth and final article now, and this comes from BBC.com. The Rugby Championship came to an end at the weekend, and this is an interesting headline. It says, "What have we learned from the Rugby Championship?" Now, this is they don't mean it the way I would mean it if I said it. I'm just, it's a big competition. It's 4 of the world's top 10 test nations playing each other in a home and away round robin. But I followed it as closely as I can over the 6 weeks. And I know I'm literally on the other side of the world from all this going on, and I don't get the full media barrage that they would down in those 4 countries. But I just thought that whole competition, when you compare it to the 6 nations, where you've got 6 nations that are a lot closer, there's a lot more overlap, the teams play each other, the players know each other a lot better. I just think this competition is a bit blah now. It might be partly because the South African and Argentinian teams have come out of Super Rugby. Super Rugby's become this just New Zealand and Australia thing, and technically just a New Zealand thing. So you don't know how they can bringing them together for this Rugby Championship is, there were some great matches, some great results. Argentina had some amazing results throughout this. But you look at South Africa. I said before the tournament that South Africa were well poised to win all 6 matches. But of course, Rassie being Rassie, had a different idea. He actually went strong for selection for his first 4 games, but then they went to Argentina. He did the top 14 thing of when he picked other players and went to develop players, which isn't a bad idea, to be fair. But they ended up losing that game. And, I think they should be disappointed. If I was a fan, I'd be disappointed at that. But you can see why, why he did it. So anyway, the quote from this article is, "Erasmus paid the price for leaving the majority of his starting 15 at home for the defeat by Argentina in an otherwise perfect campaign in terms of results." What have we learned from this championship? It's a bit meh for me. Obviously, I'll still watch it down the years. But even the way in a World Cup year, they can only play half of the tournament. It's like, if it's that big a deal, you should find a way to play the full tournament every year, no matter what else is going on. But anyway, listen, that's my 2 bits. I like the way when they branded this the Rugby Championship, when it stopped being the Tri Nations and they changed it to the Rugby Championship. You notice the 6 nations changed their tagline to Rugby's Greatest Championship, which is a great move. That is top class marketing right there, and which since then has kind of made this competition seem a little meh. Now, it might have helped if the All Blacks had a better team, and it definitely would have helped if the Wallabies had a better team. If you had 4 fully strength clubs going at it, teams going at it, and you had bigger, better matches, better contests, less blowouts, maybe I'd be saying different, but it's all falling a little flat anyway. But serious congratulations to the Springboks for winning, and of course, that's what you want. That's more silverware for them. So and we'll see how they do in November internationals and going forward. But like I say, overall, not that keen on this championship overall as a tournament. I think the 6 Nations kicks its arse big time. But anyway, that's my opinion, and I might be a bit biased. But anyway, listen, that completes this week's Front 5. Remember, we do have a lot of regular features in our 80+ column, and from now on, you'll get all of them by heading over to our website at harpinonrugby.blog. We'll be back later in the week with a preview of Leinster's trip to play Benetton. Please be sure to subscribe to all our channels, as well as our other social media platforms. You can find those at linktree/harpinonrugby. Until next time, stay safe, everyone. Slán.